This is Hino's Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. We keeping the foot on the what? On the next. We keeping the foot on the what? On the next. See, we getting all this talk about Terence Crawford and Kell Brook. They're supposedly fighting. Yada, yada, yada. Whoop-de-fucking-do. When this fight actually gets signed on the dotted line, then let's talk about it. Yeah, we're hearing the murmuring. Yeah, we're hearing the talks about it. But has this fight actually happened, folks? Let me say it again. Has this fight actually happened? And when it does actually happen, what is going to be the ultimate fate of this fight? That's going to be the underlying truths. That's going to be the undercurrent of how we're going to know what Terence Crawford's true mettle is at the welterweight division. Terence Crawford is nothing but a chihuahua barking behind the damn fence. Let me say it again. A chihuahua barking behind the damn fence. Listen, all of these Rudy Poor Plum Plum breaks, classic Dalton troglodytes, ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric that's telling you that Terence Crawford, if he fights Kell Brook, well, Kell Brook is damaged goods. Kell Brook is broken. I ain't trying to hear that fuck shit. And I got to give a shout out to my boy Contender Regime Boxing, because I was watching his video earlier and it inspired this video. You know, that's why I said real ones, they think alike. And I was actually going to be talking about some other topics, but his video enlightened me to just say, you know what? Let me give my 2 cents on this. Listen, folks. Kell Brook is a fighter that outside of Errol Spence, he was the guy that everyone was talking about at the welterweight division. Keith Thurman did not want to fight him. And that's when Keith Thurman was Keith Thurman at the time. Danny Garcia wasn't looking his way because they saw the way that he exposed Sean Porter. At that time, Kell Brook was the best welterweight pre-Earl the True Spence reign. Then Earl the True Spence steps up to the table and says, I'm going to be the one to dethrone this guy. Because prior to that, Spence was trying to fight Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman ducked him. Earl Spence was trying to fight Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia ducked him. Earl Spence was trying to fight Sean Porter. At that time, Sean Porter was ducking him for a long time. So all in all, Spence ended up fighting Kell Brook. It took Earl the True Spence to have to mangle him, to make him bend the proverbial freaking knee in the 10th round via Boys to Men fashion, right? But here's the thing. Kell Brook is a live game animal. He comes in, he makes his weight, he's in shape, he's doing what he has to do. Then the bottom line is, this is going to be a big fight, y'all. This is going to be a tactical fight. This is going to be a fight that's going to denote the separation and the distinction of who's real and who's being a chihuahua barking behind a damn fence. Listen, y'all. Terence Crawford has not proven his legitimacy at the welterweight division. He wants to get out of bed, don't brush his teeth. Who freaking does that? And just shows up to the Earl the True Spence fight. When I say don't brush his teeth, I'm talking about he doesn't want to do any heavyweight lifting. This guy has no inclinations, no motives, no desires to fight any of the upper echelon of the welterweight division. That's the things that make you say, Things that make you say, This is why he's gotten disrespected the way he has. This is why he has 126 pounders, a la Gary Russell Jr. calling him out. All Terence Crawford has to do, if he wants to shut up a Hino's Sport and shut up any Terence Crawford critics, is go out there and fight not one, but 2 upper echelon welterweight fighters. Let me say it again. Not one, but 2 upper echelon welterweight fighters. This is how he's earned himself the Earl the True Spence fight. Because Spence can't just be fighting Sean Porter, which is an upper echelon welterweight. Kell Brook, upper echelon welterweight. That's already 2. Danny Garcia, 3 upper echelon welterweights. So Terence Crawford gets to fight Kell Brook, and then he goes to the Spence fight. No. It don't work like that. He has to fight Kell Brook, beat him cleanly and definitively, and then fight a Sean Porter or Dennis Ugas and beat either one of those guys cleanly and definitively. And then he's earned the right to be happy with the 40% that he's going to get in the Spence fight. Because that's what it's going to be. A 60-40 split, y'all. Let me say it again. It's going to be a 60-40 split because Spence can't be sitting here doing all of this work. Terence Crawford only does so much. But then he's expecting a 50-50. This is why the fight didn't happen in the first place. Because Terence Crawford is delusional. He doesn't even know his true ranking as a welterweight. He's a 147 pounder that's really a 140 pounder, masquerading as a 147 pounder. That's what Terence Bud Crawford's truest and most properest levels is at. He hasn't proven himself at 147. Jeff Horn was a belt that Bob Arum wanted you to have. What Bob orders. The fight against Amir Khan, that doesn't count because Amir Khan was 5 years past his prime at that time. Jose Benavidez, he wasn't 100% of a fighter. He had a one-legged variation. That doesn't count. Mean Machine, a guy who was on the shelf for 9 to 10 months, still by the way dropped you within 3 rounds. That fight doesn't count. So again, we have to recap this situation. We have to look at Terence Bud Crawford's environment here. We have to look at his ability to do what he does in the ring. And it doesn't cut the mustard, y'all. So we have to sit here and ask ourselves these underlying current questions here. And what's the question that we're asking ourselves? Is Terence Bud Crawford a legitimate welterweight? The answer is emphatically no. And if Terence Bud Crawford wants to prove his welterweight supremacy, he wants to showcase that he's a true welterweight, then he needs to go through Kell Brook, beat him cleanly. I'm not expecting him to plow through him because Terence Bud Crawford doesn't have that power to just drop a big-ass Kell Brook. But he needs to beat him up and beat him up cleanly. Then he needs to fight a Sean Porter or Yodiris Ugas and beat one of those guys up cleanly. Now he does that, then he's earned the right to say, I can fight a Earl Spence. But if he doesn't do this, then Terence Bud Crawford, I'm sorry to say this, in his a chihuahua barking behind the damn fist status, he's not going to get the Earl to True Spence fight. Spence is actually going to move up to 154. As a matter of fact, Spence told you, Danny Garcia, Manny Pacquiao, Terence Bud Crawford. That's giving Terence Bud Crawford time to get these fights out of the way. But you best believe, if Terence Bud Crawford doesn't do what he's supposed to, Spence will just move his ass up to 154. He's not going to fight him. And if he does fight him, it's only just going to be to prove a point that he just wants to show that he's just better than Terence Bud Crawford. He may possibly just do that for the strength of that. But I realistically don't see it happening because Al Heyman said, we need you to fight at least one upper echelon of the welterweight division. He knows the sport wants him to fight 2. But if he fights 1, more than likely he may end up getting the fight. It is what it is, man. But see, this is what I'm talking about. You see the double standards that's associated here? Earl Spence gets to do all of this work. Terence Bud Crawford only does so much, but Terence Bud Crawford gets to earn the right to get the fight. You don't allow yourself to have a 140 resume and basically build that up as if you have 147 legitimacy. Let me say it again. You can't go off of a 140 resume and build that up and say that that's your 147 pound legitimacy. You build your 147 pound legitimacy off of what you do at the 147 pound division. Terence Bud Crawford hasn't shown you anything that shows you that this is a fighter that's for real at 147. So how does he even deserve that fight? See, this is the questions that fight fans need to be asking. The Kell Brook fight is being talked about. But until there's ink that is signed, sealed, and delivered like UPS, then everybody needs to go sit down somewhere and what? Higgity fucking hush. We need to see this fight signed. We need to see the contract put out in place. And we need to see this fight happen. Because we've seen this dance before. And in this dance before, Terence Bud Crawford ducked Kell Brook a record, Guinness Books World Record, 8th time. 8 times he ducked this guy. So until we get an actual official fight date, then I have to put a question mark that there's a potential 9th time that he could duck this guy or say that the contract fell through. So we need to see this contract goes through before we could sit here and get excited and get encouraged as fight fans. That's the cold-hearted, that's the unadulterated, and that's the cutthroat true self fashion. Until Terence Bud Crawford proves himself at 147, to me, he's a chihuahua barking behind the damn fence. This is He Knows the Sport. Checking out.